Guys, what is going on? We are back again for another episode of Black and Yellow. Yours truly, Marv and Wallace. We are here today in one of our favorite restaurants, about to eat some sushi, about to sit down and have a nice meal with you guys. As you can see, we have the whole back room closed off. Every time we come here, we pretty much have the whole back room closed off to ourselves. One of the perks of knowing the owners. So guys, stay tuned for this interview because it's going to be a great interview. Wallace and I are going to be answering some of the most asked real estate questions that we've gotten over the past year, and can't wait to get into it with you guys. So guys, stay tuned. Come have a meal with us. Hello everyone, and we are back as promised for today's special interview. Wallace and I bringing you some sushi, some fish, some sashimi, and to talk real estate and business. So Wallace, let's jump right into it.
Sure.
From over the past 10 years, why would you say some of the real estate investors, or a lot of real estate investors, rather, never achieve, the high net worth of the 7, 8, 9 figure digits, et cetera, et cetera?
I think because most people like to do what everybody else does. They like to follow the hypes.
Right.
So, the hottest thing around the country, obviously, in the last 10, maybe even 20 years, is what? Wholesaling.
Right.
And I think the problem with wholesaling is, wholesaling is like capital gain, like fix and flip, right? They're the same. Why? Because every time you sell something within the 12 months period of time, you got to pay high taxes, capital gain, 40%, 45%, 50%, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like you have a job. Every time you fix a house, you get paid. Every time you wholesale a house, you get paid, right?
Right.
So what happens, when you stop working? Do you get paid?
Right. No.
You don't, right?
No.
And that's why I think out of the few successful real estate investor friends that I have, I think one guy does pretty okay because he runs his wholesale business like a real business where he doesn't have to physically show up. He has a team of people around the country, 200 deals, 300 deals, even 500 deals a year. Just like one of the students we have, he did over 500 deals last year.
Right.
And when that happens, a human can't physically do 500 deals, not even 200 deals by himself, by herself. That's just impossible. And I think that's the reason why, most investors having trouble, reach past 8 or 9 figures later on because, what we're really doing is we are really having a job rather than a business.
Sure.
Okay? But when you look at the very few who achieve over 8 or even 9 figures, what do they have? They might still wholesale houses, they might still rehab houses, but like I said, they don't have to touch anything. They have a business. And that's the reason why I see, very few achieve quantum growth, whereas most people, we just follow the hypes. Even myself, I did it. I wholesale houses left and right and thinking I had a business. I didn't. You wholesale houses left and right thinking you had a business. So remember when we look back, say 10, 12 years ago, right? What happened the first time you wholesale a house, Maury? Do you remember what happened?
I remember what happened, but what exactly do you mean?
So what I mean by that is what happens after you wholesale that house? What happens with your income?
Oh, so
right?
What you're saying is after you wholesale the house, what happens with your income is your income stops. Because now you got to find the next house
exactly
to wholesale. If you don't have a next house to wholesale, then you're not gonna make no money. Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm not saying wholesaling is wrong. I'm not saying rehabbing is wrong. But what I'm saying is we have to understand. We have to, identify the difference between capital gain rather than investing. What is the real definition of investing? Investing is cash flow, right? Investing is not, go get the house under contract, flip to somebody for 20 grand. That's not what investing is. Okay, that's why the very few who actually achieved quantum growth, you're talking about, 8 figures, 9 figures, right? Investors that I know personally, they're landlords.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're lenders, people who lend money out.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Why? Because it's passive income, cash flow. That's the definition of true investing.
For sure.
Right? I mean, I know more than 90, maybe even 99% of people will disagree or argue with me, but I just think that once you look up, pay attention to the difference between people who made over 8 or 9 figures compared to people who made 6, 7 figures, that's the major difference.
Absolutely.
That's the number one difference.
I agree.
So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, systems simplify everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you don't have systems in place, when you're trying to do everything, because some people fall into that trap of they don't trust people, and they fall into that anxiety. You always hear the cliche sayings of, if you want something done right, do it yourself. You know what I mean? But there's so many cliches in business, I realize, that are 100% wrong. There's a lot of cliche sayings in business that people have been hearing for the past 5, 6, 7 decades, and I just realized there's just so much wrong thinking associated with a lot of these sayings. Like I just said, if you want something done, do it yourself. If you want it done the right way, do it yourself. And this mentality, like you said, keeps people stuck in whatever you want to say, 5-figure business, yearly salary, and it doesn't allow them to get to that 6, 7-figure or 8-figure, especially even more.
Yeah.
So I agree wholeheartedly, 1,000,000% with what you said. And I think this would be a good time to transition into the next question. For all the people that are new, and then I think about myself being new 10 years ago in this business, what would you advise us or anybody to do starting from scratch for the next 12 months in order to grow this business, grow this real estate business?
So I think there are 2 ways to do it. One is that you just do it yourself. You can go online, Google, research some free information, watch some YouTube channels like most people do, because not everyone has the budget, not everyone has the willingness to hire a mentor, right? I talk to majority of the people, they will tell me it's okay, they spend a year, even 10 years to figure things out on their own, as long as they don't spend money. So for me, I think it's a huge problem, because we can only live one time. I don't know any human being on this earth can live 2 or 3 times. So every day, every year passes by, you're not gonna get your time back. That's just the reality, right? But with money, I can spend it. Whether it's $100 today or $100,000 today, I can spend it today and I can get it back tomorrow, right? Especially in real estate, I always teach my kids, if you want to have something, something expensive, right? Have more tenants, right? That's all you have to do. So that's why I think for people who are completely new, I wouldn't advise you to go take on all the risks and do the crash and burn. Because we personally know friends who, like to, go out do things on their own, and then only to find out, one guy lost $500,000. One guy lost, another guy lost more than $500,000.
Sure.
Those mistakes in real estate are not cheap. That's why, when I make my recommendations, I always tell people the truth. You might rather have somebody hold your hand, being on your side, in your corner, so that it's kind of like you buying insurance.
Right.
It does cost you money, but it won't cost you big money compared to the losses you're gonna have, compared to the time you waste.
Absolutely.
It's just a such time saver. You're taking open book tests. So that's what I would say.
Yeah.
For the beginners.
I think always finding somebody that's already doing it. I think that's definitely important. Save your time. And again, this goes back to what I just said in the previous segment that we had. There's so many wrong cliche sayings that people have in business. People always try to, do things and figure things out on their own. And what happens is they just end up getting screwed because they want to do it their own and they think they don't need no help. They, like you said, you want to take the long route, etc., etc. Dude, why not cut your learning curve in half? You can always, like you said, money.
95%, Marvin.
Yeah, because you can.
Not 50, 95%.
Right, because you can always, there's certain things you can always get back, man. And money is one of those things where you can always get money back. And I want people to understand something. Like, you see so many people on social media that say things like, if you want to become successful, you gotta stop going to Starbucks every day. Save your money. You gotta, listen, I want you guys to understand something. Success has nothing to do with not going to Starbucks every day. It has nothing to do with that. When I see so many people or gurus or whatever on social media, whatever they say, stop going to Starbucks or stop eating out every day. That's why you can't become successful. That's why you can't save money. Stop buying Gucci and Louis Vuitton. That's why you guys can't make any money. Listen, that stuff has nothing to do with whether you make money or not. The problem is your income. It's not your spending habits. So you need to figure out how to increase your income, because you saving $5, you spending $5 at Starbucks every day, that's not gonna do anything. Okay, you stop going to Starbucks. Now what? Guess what? You're still broke. Guess what? You still don't have money, because there's a bunch of people in this world who don't eat at Starbucks every day. There's a bunch of people in this world who don't eat out every day. But guess what? They still don't have money. They still not successful like how they want to be. So and understand, buying that Gucci shirt, that Louis Vuitton shirt, those Louis Vuitton slides, those Hermes slides, whatever, that doesn't mean anything neither. Just because you spend $200, $300-$400 on a sneaker or some t-shirts, that's not the reason why you're not making the kind of money you want to make. The reason that you're not making the kind of money you make is because you haven't figured out a way to increase your net worth via whatever the source is, whether it's real estate, whether it's stocks, crypto, whatever the case may be. You have an income problem. You don't have a spending problem. And whatever it is that you want to do, but especially real estate, find somebody that's doing it. Invest the time, invest the money, because you can always get the money back. But you can't get the time back. And I think that's what Wallace was alluding to.
I want to add something to what you were just saying. So think about people who buy Starbucks every day. Think about people who pay, say, $600, something like that. I don't even remember. But some of those shirts, right, cost $500. Some of those shirts cost like $1,000. But when you look at these people who actually purchase these kind of stuff, these are not people who have financial issues for the most part. These are the people who understand increasing our income, having passive income, is the right way to go. So one thing I wanted to share real quick within what Marvin was talking about is saving, okay? So if we pay serious attention, who talks about saving money? It's either the poor family or the middle class family around the world. You will never hear rich people teach their kids, oh, go save money, Marvin. Right. Don't buy anything. Live below your means. Don't eat in the restaurant.
Right.
Just drink some water, eat some bread, because that's cheap or free. And the people who actually save the most that I know in my personal life are the biggest losers, okay? Why they are the biggest losers? Think about it. 2 years ago, I had one family member had over $600,000 in savings before COVID. Gas price was $192 in my area at the time. And now we went all the way up to $5. Just gas. We're not even talking about other food. So now it's kind of like the $600,000 savings you had. Overnight, you lost like 70% of the buying power. Right? With the same amount you have 2 years ago versus now, would you agree you can't even buy half of the stuff? That's just a simple fact. So the more you save, right, the more you're gonna lose. That's a simple fact. Why? Because we all have to understand there's something simple called the inflation, right?
Silent killer.
Yeah, it's a silent killer. That's why, okay, we have this channel is because, we can help more people follow along the journey, and you can do the same thing we do. So that way, in the future, one day, one time, we don't have to, be struggling financially. We don't have to, go to the gas station and worry about the gas price. This might sound like, stupid, but personally, when I went and get gas, after the gas price, went more than double in my area, I didn't even know that until about 3 months after. Why? Because I never looked at the gas price. Just like when I eat in a restaurant, I don't look at the bills. I don't care. That's not my focus. We have to understand, we gotta put our mind, which is the most powerful thing, towards into something powerful, which is boosting your income, building more passive income, and teaching your kids, the next generation, to do the same, rather than worry about this and that. Because for you to worry about gas price, for you to worry about inflation, nothing's gonna change for your life. I even know people worry about who's the president. Right. I don't care who the president is.
Right.
Because I understand the simple fact is it's not gonna do nothing to my life,
Absolutely.
right? You know, think about maybe 20 years ago when I first came to this country. You know, I wasn't even speaking English at the time. I was making $4 as soon as I was able to speak English. But at the same time, it didn't matter who the president was. I was extremely poor. I couldn't even afford the rent. Why? It's not the president's fault, it's my fault. I didn't put in enough time and effort to do the personal development. But once I did, everything changed. You know, I went from making $4 or $5 an hour to now, whatever I buy, I don't look at the price because I don't need to. You know, so Marvin, I really think the biggest takeaway for the one question you just asked me is we have to shift our mind and put our mind into the proper position
Right.
to have the right focus rather than just worry about the price. This is expensive, that's expensive. Then if everything's expensive, then just don't eat.
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean? Don't rent a house. Don't buy a house.
Like I said,
That's just not realistic, right?
Yeah, like I said, it's not a spending problem, you know, it's an income problem. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Increase your income and you'll be okay. To transition, what would you say to the people that have a concern, they don't want something to happen like the 2008 crash, that don't want to spend any money, use their own credit, etc., to buy real estate?
I understand that most people in this world only understand to buy real estate with their credit with 20-30% down payment, but in the real estate investing world those things don't happen. Marvin, so when you bought your first property, when you flip your first property, my question, simple question to you, okay, did you use your credit?
No.
Okay, so did you use your own money?
No.
Zero, or you use some, or zero? Which one?
Zero.
Okay, so now you guys heard, right? So in the investing world, we don't use money, we don't use our credit because we don't need to. What we do is we use our brain, we use our skill set. Okay, so if you worry about, you know, the market's gonna crash, you worry about, you know, your house is gonna go from worth $1 million to worth like $10, right? Don't worry about it. Why? Because there's no way you're gonna lose if you don't sign up for a mortgage, right? You don't use your credit. There's no way you're gonna lose if you don't put up any money. You know, sometimes I can think about, you know, losing a few dollars because when I tied up properties, you know, sometimes I put up zero, sometimes, you know, I put $10.
Right.
So the most I will lose is whatever the amount I put up, if that makes sense. Did I answer that question?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the beautiful things about how Wallace and I mentor and teach people is we teach you how to be a complete player. We teach you how to do all types of real estate deals, whether you want to use money to raise money or whether you want to use zero money, to teach you how to buy real estate, to teach you how to become a transaction engineer. So that way you can use your brain and do creative financing. So that way you can buy real estate with very little money, next to no money. Also too, I know a concern that a lot of people have is even if they can buy real estate with very little to no money, I know one of the biggest concerns is marketing costs. What I want to know is, how would you advise somebody that maybe not have a lot of money on marketing to be able to find these deals versus how much money we might have used to spend 7-8 years ago when we did it? Because we spent a lot of money on marketing, but understand that that's not a requirement when it comes to finding deals and doing real estate.
Yeah, so when you asked me this question, right, about doing deals, you know, doing marketing by spending no money. So at the time, I think we were spending roughly $6,000 or $7,000 a week, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in between $6,000 to $7,000 every week. You know, put out banner signs, 100 signs every Friday night. Do about 6,000 pieces of yellow letters every Monday morning, that kind of stuff. Until my mentor Joe actually taught us how to do marketing without spending money. So ever since that, you know, I still bought a couple hundred banner signs left and right. But you know, if I wanted to, I really don't have to spend money because, you know, we get results based on, you know, the marketing strategies, the marketing secrets he taught us, so that we can still profit, but we don't need to spend any money at all if you want to. But that doesn't mean you're not allowed to spend money.
This is just a question for people who may be looking to spend very little money, because as we know, things are hard out here. You know, we completely understand. People have lost jobs, depending on what city you may live in, what country you may live in. Inflation is sky high right now. So I know there are some people who may be able to afford X amount of dollars every month with a marketing plan. They may be able to afford $2,000, $3,000 a month. I'm not saying the 7,000 like how we were doing, but maybe 1,000 a week, maybe 500 a week, or maybe even 500 a month. Basically, what I'm saying is there's a budget for whoever the investor is. There's always a budget. There's always a plan for whoever the investor is, and whatever it is that you're looking to do in this real estate business, because marketing is the most important thing. You understand, any business you're in, you're not really in that business. You're in the marketing business, whether it's the restaurant business, the business that we're in right now, whether it's crypto, whether it's stocks, whether it's real estate, you're always in the marketing business. So understand, you don't have, with the strategies Wallace and I know, you may not need money to necessarily buy real estate. You may be able to use no money or very little money in order to purchase
other people's money,
or in order to purchase real estate. But understand, you got to figure out how you could market to people as well, because marketing is something that is the name of the game, and that may require some thinking if you don't want to spend a certain dollar amount. But if you do have the dollar amount that you can spend on it, hey, go for it. Spend that dollar amount.
You're welcome to do so.
Absolutely.
But you're not required.
Absolutely.
You know, we had this one student named Tim did over 500 deals in a single year last year. I don't know how many millions he made, probably a lot. He wasn't focusing on spending money on marketing. He was just, doing the stuff that he also learned from Joe. So now we know even people doing that kind of volume, they didn't use money for marketing. What makes you think you need to use money for marketing?
Absolutely.
And I hope that addressed everybody's concern for whoever's listening right now.
I'm sure it has. But I know one thing that a lot of people really want to know is how long is it going to take them to become financially free within the next 12 months? Not even to make maybe necessarily $1 million or whatever the case may be, but how is it? Can they become financially free over the next 12 months doing this?
Absolutely. We have people who actually succeeded. I didn't become financially free. Excuse me. I didn't make my first million until 2 years into the business. So the answer is, it always depends. Depends on how hard you work, right? If your strategy is correct or not. Bottom line is, if you have a blueprint that works and you stay consistent, you give everything you got, especially nowadays with all of the technologies we have, making $1 million is something can be done probably within 6 months. You know, like I said earlier, we already have students who made multiple millions in a single year, probably over 10 million, because that's 500 deals, right? So I think it really comes down to two parts: how dedicated you are, how much time you can put in, and if you have a proven plan that works. Marvin, so I think that's the answer to what you just asked me.
Anybody that takes what we're saying and can apply it for the next 12 months, because something that Wallace and I heavily focus on is we heavily focus on working smarter, not necessarily harder, because this world is filled with people that work that work hard every day, but they get nowhere. They're running in place, or they're headed nowhere fast. Some people get so obsessed with speed. It's like, yeah, you're moving fast, but you're headed nowhere fast. So me and Wallace are focused on slow and steady wins the race. Not saying we're necessarily going to go slow.
We're turtles,
but right,
we're not rabbits.
Right, because turtles always win. Turtles always finish the race and win the race. But if you ever notice, rabbits and all these other vermin and animals, they get hit by cars, they get hit by whatever, because they're moving too fast. And this is an analogy for business, for life, that Wallace and I always like to use, because it's a true one, in my opinion.
I understand that there's a lot of the musicians, rappers, whatever you like to call it, in our country, made their millions or whatever, but then next thing you know, they go back down to zero or even bankrupt, being the negatives, right? But the one rapper, Rick Ross, okay, he is doing extremely well, and he's gonna continue to do well. Why? Because he understands the simple principle. He always says, don't move fast, Nobody's supposed to move fast. We gotta move correctly, and that's the message I wanted to share here. Is we gotta be slow and steady like the turtles, but at the same time, we gotta make sure every step we take, every hour we put in, it's gonna be correct moves, right?
And I think what he just said, because my last question was basically going to be, how can people become a complete player? Like you, what are some of the things you do to become a complete player? But I think you just stated it, mapped it out perfectly. And even throughout this whole interview so far about how you became a complete player, because we can't give you all of the information right here in this video.
Yeah, it took me, more than 10 years to learn this. So I think in order to become a complete player, just like in real estate, we can't just master wholesaling. We can't just master rentals or master fix and flip, because there's other niches like short sales, right? Owner financing, anything you name it. We gotta master them all in order to, 10x our income. Because every time, when we profit from, real estate deals, it's never one size fits all. It's never just only wholesaling. It's never just only fix and flip subject to. It's always a mixture of all these things. So the moment, we master all these things, we no longer leave money on the table. But at the same time, as we all know by now, after listening to this interview, is that if you haven't mastered all of these strategies that I just mentioned, 9 times out of 10, you're leaving a ton of money on the table. You're talking about minimum 6 figures on the table each year without even knowing. That's why for me, my style is I always want to be a complete player, not just in real estate. I master any other business. I master any other industry as well. So that now in my life, I'm not a player who only know how to profit from real estate. You can put me in front of any business, any industry. I know how to profit from pretty much anything. And so I think the key to that is continuing education. Okay? So what helps me is continuing education, continuing mentorship from different mentors around the world, doing different business, doing different industry. That's how I was able to learn and master these strategies from my previous mentors. And I want to, give credit to all of my mentors, people like Robert Kiyosaki, we all know in this country, Jay Abraham, Tony Robbins, just some of these top guys, Dean Graziosi as well.
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna keep my list, but I just wanted to name a few to let you guys know the power of, mentorship, the power of, having a guy who's already been to where you wanted to go to hold your hand step by step. I think that's the fastest way to financial freedom. Anything in life, shortcuts.
And a lot of you guys may not realize and understand it, but it's most definitely worth the money, because the amount of money that Wallace or myself has invested in education is tremendous. You're talking about minimum 6 figures to invest in education to get to a certain point in life. Sometimes you guys got to remember and understand too, there might be times where you got to pay to get into certain rooms with certain people. If you want to pay to get in a room, if you want to go see Gary Vee, you're going to have to pay to get into a room with Gary Vee. If you want to meet Tony Robbins, you're going to have to pay to get into a room with Tony Robbins. You can't just show up and just be in a room with these guys. Sometimes you got to pay to play. You got to pay to be around the people that you want to be around. It helps your business mindset, it helps your overall life mindset, and you just grow and you continue to get better from people who have already been to where you want to go and see new perspectives that you might have never even thought about. So,
yeah, I'm not even afraid to let everybody know, whoever's listening, because for me, I'm all about be real, speaking what's on my mind. So, Marvin, would you agree? Even somebody like you, being friends with me for 20 years, probably somebody, I'm the closest with, right? But even you, are you having free lunch right now, or you have to pay to get in the game? You have to pay the price. Or I just be like, hey Marvin, have free money.
No.
You have to pay the price, right?
Absolutely.
Did you work hard for all of the things you have now?
Absolutely.
Or you just didn't do anything, but hey, Wallace, just give me some free stuff, right? You have to work for it.
Yeah.
Even my best friend, I don't let him eat for free. There's nothing we give out for free. Why? Because free stuff will only make people weak.
Right.
That's what I believe.
Right.
And my job is to help my friends succeed, to make them strong.
Right.
especially financially. I'm not here to make people weak. That's why, I'm not afraid to say what's on my mind.
Exactly, and I'm sure there's a lot of people, because there's people that in our home area that probably know Wallace and I. A lot of people, they talk a lot of mess and say this and that, or say, "Oh, Marv's only this because." Yo, listen, I wouldn't be sitting at this table with this man right here.
Yeah, you have to pay, right?
I wouldn't be sitting here at this table right now with this man if I didn't put in the time, I didn't put in the effort. This isn't just because I've known Wallace for a long time. Trust and believe, I put in blood, sweat, and tears, as they say,
And money.
into this business. So that's why I'm sitting at the table. It has nothing to do with, oh, Marv and Wallace are friends, so Marv's getting a free ride.
No,
hell
there's no
no.
free ride.
It was never no
I don't
free.
even give my kids free ride because I know that's not good for them. That's terrible.
It
for
was
people.
never no free ride. I put in the time. I was up till 4 a.m., 5 a.m. putting out bandit signs. When everybody else was asleep, I was studying this business when nobody else was studying. I put the time in, and that's why I'm able to sit at the table and do these things with people like Wallace and other successful people, other millionaires, people that know millionaires and billionaires, etc., because I put in the time to self-development. Same thing with Wallace. He put in the time to self-development. That's why we can have these conversations and sit at the table and do great things.
Yeah, I remember one of my mentors taught me that the biggest thing that are letting people down is free lunch. Free lunch is the root of all evil. Money is never the root of all evil. Free lunch is the root of all evil. Why? Because for people who are looking for free stuff, if we pay attention to what they have accomplished, we all know the answer, right? How many people you witnessed in your life became successful by always asking for free lunch? To me, it's zero. I never met a human became successful asking for free lunch.
Right.
And I think to me, free lunch is poison. I don't want to eat anything for free. I don't want anybody to give me anything for free.
For sure.
That's poison.
For sure.
So I think that's my final tip for everybody who's listening.
Absolutely, man. Listen, this interview has been amazing. I'm so grateful we were able to meet you guys for lunch today and talk to you guys about some real estate tips that we've learned over the past decade plus. Hope you guys got some gems from today's video. As always, the master, as I say, the best kept secret. I'm so grateful that he was able to come on here and share his time with you guys, share his knowledge and wisdom. Wallace, if you don't have any closing remarks.
Yeah, that's why I think when you ask me for the closing thoughts, I would just say I encourage everybody take action, join the challenge, follow along with the journey, and I promise you, as long as you take the tips we give, take action, massive action, okay? I think you will at least double, maybe not triple your income. All right?
Yes, sir.
Until next time.
We
Bye-bye
check
for
y'all.
now.